Alright everyone, welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. My name is Rockhall, but today I am not playing a game, but beginning my 3-part series on learning in HOTS. If you clicked on this video, you're probably already aware of what I'm about to say, but I would like to clarify why I think that everyone, provided that they actually want to have a higher rank than they currently have, should practice some kind of technique similar to the one I'm about to share. Everyone is bad at the game. Mistakes are bad. Yet that isn't really a bad thing, you know. A lot of people think that making mistakes is a bad thing. I beg to differ. It's not necessarily bad, it's just something that needs to change. So you can take HGC, the Heroes Global Championship, where the best of the best played in a bygone age. I kind of hope that we can all agree that, at most, you are just as good as them. And incredibly likely that you are worse than all of them. Yet, during that championship, I don't quite remember all the details, but I do remember that, one of these HGC players, best in the world, went to the wrong objective on the Infernal Shrines. Can you imagine trying to do that yourself? I wouldn't even expect a brand new player to make that kind of a mistake. But an HGC player did. And in that way, I mean, we all make mistakes, We all can improve. They certainly could have done better that game, and you can do better in all of your games. And on that note, I'm not even going to try to address the idea of an ELO hell, as it's called. If you do any kind of basic statistics works, you can show that to be unimaginably improbable if you play frequently, and if you don't play frequently, then you don't really have a place to complain if your rank doesn't go up. If you want to increase your rank, then you just need to play more and improve your gameplay, as every single one of us can. So then, you ask how? Because it isn't exactly simple. It's not like studying for a math test or anything. You can't just do it. You can't just get better. It's not simple like that. So I'm going to make an effort to be kind of complete in this, and so I'm going to start from as if you have zero experience on a hero, just like base knowledge, like you have an understanding of what all the talents are and what all the abilities are and whatever, and like you might have a basic idea of talent build or whatever, right? So part 1 is going to start there. If you already have played your hero a bunch, then I'd recommend skipping to part 2. I should have the timestamp up here. So, I will also be splitting this series is 3 parts. The method is also going to be in 3 parts, so you're going to probably want to skip to part 2 if you don't want part 1. I'm going to try to explain all 3 parts today, and then I'll demonstrate them in the next 2 videos. So those will be the next 2 parts. First one will be step 1 and 2, and then the second one will be step 3. So, if you have not pretty much played a hero, you have very little experience on the hero, you don't trust your play at all on the hero, then you can start at step 1. If not, go ahead and skip ahead at least to step 2, probably step 3. I still think that step 2 is very helpful, but I know that a lot of people won't want to do it, even though I think it's really something that you should do before you try doing step 3. And while you're doing step 3, it's good to repeat. But essentially, the first step that I would say is to play your AI games. And I know that a lot of people might think that they've been playing HOTS for a while, right? That seems a little bit demeaning. Maybe, like HOTS, an AI game is, it's worthless, right? But that's what I like about them, as far as learning goes, because you're not really playing the game, right? It would be like saying that AI tests, it's not really like taking an English test, right? It's not really like writing an essay, right? It's more like reading the student samples, right? You basically are going to win no matter what. It's incredibly difficult to lose. I think I probably lost maybe 3 in my entire time playing Heroes of the Storm. Versus a co-op. Versus AI with AI is actually significantly more difficult, but that's because the AI is kind of bad. Regardless, you're just in the AI games to get a feel for the hero, right? You want to have, you want to figure out the talents. You want to figure out how to use your abilities in the most basic sense, right? The kinds of combos you do, what, the most basic kinds of plays, your auto attack cadence, even, etc. And these kinds of things, there's not much else I can teach you, right? And it's not like those are going to get you very far, right? But they're important. If you don't know your auto-attack cadence, if you're playing like someone like Raynor, and if you can't auto-attack as frequently as possible, your DPS is going to suffer tremendously from that, right? And it won't take you long to figure it out in a normal game, I will freely admit, but it's a lot safer to do so. For your MMR, it's a lot safer to do so. For your team will like you a lot more. It's gonna feel better to do it in an environment like AI games where there's just no pressure, right? There's no pressure. You're just trying to understand how to approach a hero so that you don't go in blind, right? That's kind of the idea. So you probably won't want to spend very long. Like at the most, I'd say play 10 AI games, right? That's like the max that you'd ever want to play on this step, right? And then you'll probably never revisit this step. And then you're going to move on to step 2, right? So step 2 is go into the collections tab and just use the hero in try mode, right? This is kind of like, to keep the analogy of a English test going, like writing your thesis statements for various prompts over and over again, right? It's not the whole essay yet, right? That's coming next, but it is the parts of it, right? So you're just going to be doing your basic combos. Anything that you know that you're going to have to do in every game that you play, just do it a bunch, right? Even though I, am a pretty much a Garrosh Johanna dual main, right? I do this constantly on Garrosh, right? I rarely actually do it on Johanna because she has pretty much one skill shot, so I never do this really on her. But on Garrosh, I do it all the time because his combos, EQ, 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 ER, ER, right? I just have to go through them. Just do it a bunch because I whiff combos all the time. Where I don't get my Q off or whatever, right? And afterwards, I know this is technically anecdotal, so not very helpful, but I do see a big improvement in the play. Right? I whiff far, far, far fewer combos after I've done this than when I do. Right? If you mess up during an actual game and you're like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was playing like garbage, right? I just could not hit my things, right? Then go back, do this step again, right? Just go into try mode, just do that step a bunch, right? Make sure that whatever you need to do it, right? If you're playing Azmodan, right, and you want to do run it down as mode, just run down the fort a bunch of times, test it, make sure that you're doing your times really fast, right? So, because that's, the whole point, times really fast, make sure you're not losing HP to tower shots, right? All that kind of stuff. You just do it a bunch, right? If there's something that you're going to be doing, just do it, right? That's the idea, right? You're not going to be, the AI, again, sucks, so you're not going to be learning, like, super complicated plays, but if you're trying to figure out how to hit, if you're missing Dehaka tongues on a moving target, then go back in, use Dehaka, just try to hit as many tongues on the Arthur spot as you can, right? He's going to move pretty randomly sometimes, so sometimes he'll move pretty randomly, you can just toss out your drags on him, right, and see if you can hit them, right? And so at that point, now you have, basically this is the essentials for your character, right? You have the character's kit down, right? So when you know to make the right play, you can make it as effectively as possible, right? And that's very important, but it isn't really the majority of play, right? The majority of the play is figuring out how to get that right play, right? But it is still an important step. But now, step 3 is where that last bit comes in. How do I know to make the right play? And there's no real easy answer to that, right? So, essentially, you just gotta play. This is the longest and the hardest step, and you just gotta play games. And, like, if you're here, I'm almost certain that you already do a lot of that already. So, what I am suggesting is a little bit different than just playing it once. I suggest you play each game 2 times. And what I mean by that is that you're going to play the first game to the best of your ability. There's no point in doing this if you don't try in the actual game. And then, once you finish the game, maybe you finish a batch of games even, it doesn't really matter as long as it's close enough in time that you can remember your thought process through the game. Then you're going to go back and you're going to watch the replay, play by play, and you're just going to watch for as many different things as you can, right? Now that you're out of the game, right, you are now a spectator of your own game. You're going to watch every single thing that you do, right? And every single thing that everyone else in the game does, right? And see what you missed, basically. See what decisions you made that might have been right or wrong. Think about alternative decisions, right? You're looking to see something that you didn't see before, to figure out something that you didn't before. So you're going to look through, you're going to make sure that you're watching the mini-map more closely, HP bars, mana bars, and cooldowns of your teammates and enemies more closely, right? Especially cooldowns, I know a lot of people could use work on. To see what kinds of new information and new choices you might be able to glean. But that's not quite enough, right? That you need to make sure that you're making perfect mental note. You're going to be saying, for instance, okay, I didn't go in because I was afraid of the Garrosh throw, right? That is the recognition of what happened, right? And then you have to recognize as well what you didn't notice, right? And that is maybe he just used throw. So that's a 16-second cooldown, right? A fairly long cooldown, right? So I had maybe 10 seconds that I could have acted, right? So then that's the new choice, and then now you have to make the mental note of what to do better. I should make sure to keep track of cooldowns better in the future, right? Of these longer cooldowns better in the future, right? Something like that, right? That's kind of the thought process. You want to figure out what happened that I noticed, what happened that I failed to notice, what new choice could I make from that would have been better than the choice that I did make, and then you have to then after that, you have to internalize that as something to continue looking out for in the future, right? And that kind of introspection will be your aid in seeing how you actually play the game, you know, how you might want to change how you play the game, and eventually how you improve. The goal of this whole process, right? And then, you've reviewed the game, you've played it twice, and now the thing is that you have to go back and do another game. You gotta practice what you noticed, then play that game again, watch its replay. Ad infinitum, right? There is nothing really more I can say on that process. You just gotta continually try to notice everything that you fail at, right? It's not something maybe that you're going to do every single time you play, right? But every time that you want to get better, this is the way that you have to do it. I don't know if there's really any other, even a worse alternative method to getting better, I suppose, except just trying to do it while you're in a game, right? Which is what most people do, and what I'm sure that you have done, and I'm sure that if you've clicked on this video, you've realized that that doesn't work. Right? If you want to be able to learn, you have to pull yourself out of the game, watch it as a spectator rather than as a player, right? When you don't have the responsibility of hitting buttons, of making these choices on the spot, right? Because you can pause it, you can go back or whatever, right? You are going to realize how much better you play when you're disconnected from that game all of it, right? You're going to realize so many things that you couldn't before. Right? Of course, you can't affect the gameplay then, right? So all that realization, in many ways, goes to waste, and that's the point of the introspective behavior, is internalizing the things that you notice, right? You have to internalize it, take those, and then move on with it, right? And so that's kind of, I'll be kind of demonstrating kind of what I mean, because I was pretty vague in this video, I will admit. That about how these steps actually work. So I will be demonstrating these in the other two parts of this 3-part series, right? So that you can watch those as you please. If you only want to learn how to do step 3, just watch the 3rd video. If you only want to learn how to do step 1, just watch most of the 1st video. If you just want to learn how to do step 2, it'll be at the end of the 2nd video. Sorry, not the 1st video, the 2nd video. That's what I meant for step 1. So that's going to be a resource that's available. If you're watching this when it comes out, then sorry, that's not available yet, but just wait a day or two. Then the parts will come out, probably. If you're looking for some regular HOTS content of just gameplay, footage. I will be posting more of that in the future, and there is already some on this channel for you to watch at your leisure. If you liked this video, a like would be very much appreciated. If you liked this and you have seen some of my other content and liked that as well, a subscribe would be exceedingly well appreciated. And if there's anything that you would like to see me do in the future, or anything that you think that I could have clarified more in this video, then please do not hesitate to say so down in the comments below. And thank you for watching this far into the video, and have a wonderful rest of your day.